Do we live in a world where nation states hold clandestine operations against other nation states to interfere with their elections? Let's take a look at the facts, see what we can find out.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
In the murky world of intelligence operations, few organizations inspire as much fascination and fear as the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA. With its long history of covert operations, the CIA has often been accused of meddling in foreign elections to sway outcomes in favor of U.S. interests. But what if the real game has been much closer to home? For decades, many have argued that the CIA's fingerprints can be found not just in the overthrow of foreign governments, but also in the manipulation of elections within the United States itself. Rigged voting systems to psychological operations, PSYOPs for short. This can shape public perception. The narrative of the CIA as an unseen puppet master continues to capture the imagination of those who believe that democracy is just another illusion. To understand the CIA's alleged involvement in election manipulation, we must first look at its long history of foreign interventions. Since its creation in 1947, the CIA has played a pivotal role in influencing elections around the globe, often to install leaders who align with U.S. geopolitical interests. This pattern of manipulation includes notorious episodes like the 1953 coup in Iran and the 1973 coup in Chile that overthrew President Salvador Allende. These operations were not just about brute force. They involved a sophisticated mix of propaganda, disinformation, and strategic alliances with the local elites. By leveraging media, funding opposition parties, and even tampering with vote counts, the CIA demonstrated that elections could be won or lost without firing a single shot. For many, these historical precedents are not isolated incidents, but a blueprint for domestic meddling. During the Cold War, the CIA was a maestro of covert operations, skillfully manipulating political outcomes to counter Soviet influence. We touched on the coup in Iran. In 1953, Iran is on the brink of a political revolution. The CIA, in a high-stakes operation known as Operation Ajax, undertakes one of its most audacious missions. Mossadegh's nationalist policies threatened Western interests in Iranian oil. The CIA's response? A full-scale covert operation involving bribery, disinformation, and even street protests. Operatives worked behind the scenes to stage a coup, leveraging fake news and orchestrating demonstrations to topple the democratically elected prime minister and reinstate the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. Sounds really familiar, doesn't it? The stakes were control over Iran's oil and influence in the Middle East were on the line. This is partly why Iran currently hates the U.S. and the West. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see more Cold War evidence. The idea that CIA could manipulate U.S. elections might sound like a plot of a spy thriller, but there are too many coincidences to ignore. The core of the argument centers around the idea that the CIA, in conjunction with other elements of the so-called deep state, has motive, means, and opportunity to influence electoral outcomes when national interests are perceived to be at stake. Operation Mockingbird. One of the most frequently cited examples of the CIA's reach in domestic affairs is Operation Mockingbird, a covert program that began in the 1950s and allegedly continued for decades. The operation aimed to infiltrate and influence American media by recruiting journalists and news outlets to spread propaganda that aligned with CIA objectives. Does this not paint a picture for you guys? Please let me know. Please let me know in the comments if it does. Though officially denied and disbanded, the legacy of Operation Mockingbird raises questions about the CIA's influence over public opinion during key election cycles. If media narratives can be shaped to support or discredit candidates, the voting public can be nudged in the direction that suits those in power. Hey, let's look at what's going on right now here in 2024. This close to the election as of the time this is being recorded, which is mid-October. Psychological operations and social media manipulations. In the digital age, the battleground has shifted to social media, where narratives can be controlled and dissent suppressed with unprecedented precision. Some argue that the CIA's expertise in psychological operations, PSYOPs for short, has been weaponized against the American public to manipulate perceptions during election cycles. From the strategic use of bot accounts to amplify specific messages to shadow banning and deplatforming of dissenting voices. Social media has become a powerful tool for influencing elections. The CIA's history with tech giants and its alleged involvement in cybersecurity initiative only adds fuel to the fire for those who believe the agency is pulling the strings. Modern instances of election manipulation. The 2016 U.S. presidential election was marred by accusations of foreign interference, with Russia often cited as the main culprit. However, some suggest that the CIA may have had a role in shaping public perception through strategic leaks, information control, and partnerships with major tech companies. The debate over how much influence intelligence agencies wielded in framing narratives about candidates highlights the potential for behind-the-scenes manipulation. During the contentious 2020 election, allegations surfaced about the CIA's involvement in the dissemination of information that favored certain narratives, issues surrounding the suppression of news stories, manipulation of social media content, like maybe somebody's son's laptop, and the handling of sensitive information during the campaign period fed into theories that the intelligence community played a role in shaping the election outcome. Reports of CIA-linked cybersecurity initiatives allegedly being used to protect the election further fueled suspicions. You also had the 2022 Brazilian president election. Beyond the U.S., there are also accusations of CIA meddling in foreign elections with significant global impact, such as Brazil's. According to some sources, the CIA allegedly influenced local media and political operatives to sway the election in favor of pro-Western candidates, reflecting ongoing strategy that mirror Cold War tactics. Election technology and voting systems. Perhaps the most provocative claim involves direct manipulation of voting systems. Critics point to companies with alleged ties to intelligence agencies, questioning the integrity of electronic voting machines and software. Concerns about vote flipping, it's happened. Backdoors in election software also happen. And untraceable ballots definitely happen, are a staple of election fraud narratives. High-profile examples include accusations surrounding the year 2000 Bush-Gore election and more recent controversies involving electronic voting irregularities. Although these claims are often dismissed by mainstream media as baseless, they persist due to a lack of transparency and trust in the election process. Let's think about it. How many other elections took days to figure out besides the year 2000? In that span, when we started using electronic voting machines. That's what they used to sell us, right? Was the electronic voting machines. That's what they were selling us all on. It's going to be faster. You're going to know the results quicker. And it seems like the past several election cycles, 2020 to be namely, it took a while to get the results. Seems really odd, doesn't it? The October surprise. Another common tactic attributed to intelligence agencies, including the CIA, is the well-timed release of damaging information, known as the October surprise. Just before an election, examples like the Watergate scandal, the Iran-Contra affair, and the 2016 WikiLeaks email dumps are often cited as moments when shadowy forces influence the outcome of elections through strategic leaks and disinformation campaigns. Whether these events were orchestrated by the CIA or simply exploited, they serve as powerful reminders of how narrative control can sway public opinion and alter the course of history. The implications of CIA involvement in election manipulation go far beyond who wins or loses. If true, such actions would represent a fundamental betrayal of democratic principles, undermining the very fabric of the republic. The perception that elections are not free and fair breeds distrust in government, weakens institutions, and fuels social unrest. For many, it feels as though the U.S. is engaged in a silent civil war. Very interesting. A battle for control of the narrative where the rules are written in invisible ink. Erosion of trust in institutions. Widespread belief in election manipulation erodes trust in key institutions, including the electoral process, the judiciary, and the media. When citizens no longer believe their vote counts, the social contract breaks down, paving the way for political extremism and disengagement. Normalization of manipulation. If manipulation is perceived as normal or inevitable, it sets a dangerous precedent where ends justify the means. Political actors may feel emboldened to use dirty tricks, covert operations, and underhanded tactics to achieve their goals, leading to a perpetual cycle of corruption and mistrust. I think this is where we are, right? Pretty sure. The most insidious consequence of alleged CIA election meddling is the deepening of societal divisions. The narrative of a rigged system fuels polarization, driving wedges between communities and making civil discourse nearly impossible. In a nation built on ideals of liberty and justice, the perception of manipulation is a poison that saps the will of the people. I don't know, we're pretty close to this one too, so I'd say we're in between normalization of manipulation and a house divided. We're definitely hitting that boiling point. Whether or not the CIA is involved in manipulating U.S. elections, the perception alone is damaging enough. To restore faith in the democratic process, a greater transparency is needed at every level, from voting technology and campaign finance to media operations and government oversight. Public accountability, independent investigations, and protections against propaganda are essential to safeguard the integrity of elections. Vigilance is the watchword for those who believe that democracy is under threat from within. By questioning narratives, scrutinizing media, and demanding transparency, citizens can push back against the hidden forces that seek to control outcomes from the shadows. Only by shining a light on the murky world of intelligence and election interference can the American public reclaim the power that rightfully belongs to them. So that's the biggest thing here. I want to leave you with some hope before we get to the conclusion. And doing what we're doing now, more of us coming out and calling out this for what it is. We're using all the domains possible. And everybody, I see new people waking up every day and becoming more and more aware of what's going on of this, of the media just straight up lying to us, from it flip-flopping one day to the next. Just like the whole border czar fiasco with one of the candidates right now. I mean, take all this into consideration, but the path forward is us shining a light on it and bringing awareness to our fellow citizens. The narrative of the CIA as a manipulator of elections, both foreign and domestic, captures the imagination because it challenges the very idea of self-governance. The notion that a secretive agency, or group for that matter, could sway the outcome of elections represents the ultimate betrayal of the democratic process. Whether these claims are true or simply the product of a distrustful age, they serve as a reminder that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. In a world of shadowy games, the fight for transparency and accountability remains the frontline battle for the soul of democracy. So I want to finish this up. You definitely want to subscribe to this channel. I know this is a little out of norm. I'm placing it here because not a lot of you get there, but the real ones are going to get to this point. If you're a real one, comment below. I want to know your thoughts if you've listened this far and taken all of this in. But the path forward is sending content like this to your like-minded friends. Now, you're probably not going to wake up a normie with it. And you could. This could necessarily certain kill them. We won't discuss that here. We're trying to be as YouTube kosher as we can be and still get our point across. But either way, I look forward to doing more of these. You guys and your views are going to determine what monumental effort that I'll put into this. I have quite a few more essays like this that I can break down into videos, but like I said, it's a lot of effort. And either way, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And drop a like and a subscribe if you made it this far. Peace. This is XXL Dude reminding you that resistance to tyranny is obedience to God.